Hello. In this video, we are going to go over what I spoke about in the previous video as kind of a cheat. I talked about it when we went over the tools and also when we were learning how to compress the ash. We talked about the three most important movements, which is raking the ash up and then compressing the ash and then learning how to make the dimple if you're not going to use a plate. So it's really, if you look at all the methods, it's the first two that are really universal, the raking and the compressing. So because if you're going to use a plate, then you don't need to make the indentation. But we recommend practicing all three of those movements. If you practice those three movements, you've really got it down. And we went over that in a previous video. So in this video, we're going to talk about using this other type of tool, which makes the second stage. So you've raked the ash up, and then you're going to compress it. There's another tool for compressing it, which is use some kind of flat surface. And this really could be anything that's flat shaped like this. In fact, Yuting is using a piece of bamboo. And on one side, it's a little bit rounded. On the other side, it's flat. So you could just use a flat piece of bamboo or a flat piece of wood to do this as well. This tool actually, interestingly, as I spoke about in the utensils video, on the other side, it has the cheat pattern of the chopsticks. So you could flatten it with the flat side, and then you turn it over and use this side, and it makes it look like you used your chopsticks. You see it has all these little grooves in it, so it makes it look like you used your chopsticks to make the same kind of patterns or striations around. If you're a beginner, using a flat tool like this instead of the chopsticks might be a little easier. We're going to do it cold. She's going to put a piece of charcoal in, but we're just going to do it cold just to show you guys this method. So we'll start. These first movements are similar to the other ceremony. She's going to clean the chopsticks, make sure they're very clean, and loosen the ash. This ash was still pretty loose, so she didn't need to do too much. And she has a piece of charcoal. Of course, in a real ceremony, this would be lit and going really well, whether you use a lighter or a candle. We're going to push it down flat, just like before. Clean the chopsticks. And then she's going to rake. This is the first skill that we need to practice. And notice once again that the chopsticks stay in the same place and the sensor turns. Turn the sensor, keep your chopsticks in the same place, and just practice this. You can practice this over and over and over again. All the ceremonial methods use this technique, so you got to get this one down. She makes it look easy, but it's obviously a lot more difficult when you start practicing. This is the first important skill, though. Raking the ash. Really important. It's just kind of like washing the bowl, how you keep one hand is the foundation and one hand's the guide. You got to keep the hands steady with the chopsticks and turn the sensor. So now we would be compressing the ash usually with the chopsticks themselves, right? So we're going to use this method which is a little bit easier, right? And she can use the rounded side or the flat side of the bamboo and just go around and press. She's using the rounded side. 你为什么不用这个平的部分？
这一面是滑的，它灰比较不会粘进去。那如果你用这一边，它会比较会粘灰。
Oh, so she's saying the skin of the bamboo on the other side means the ash doesn't stick to it so much, whereas the flat side, the ash tends to stick to it a little bit more and clump. And
如果磨得比较细的就可以。
If it was polished, much more smoother, it's a little rough basically on that side. So she said if she wanted to use that side, she would have to sand a little bit more and get it a little bit smoother. So this is a little bit easier than the chopsticks, and you can see that it goes a little bit faster and things just compress. It's kind of cheating, right? The only aspect of this method that where you could say it's not just a quicker, more convenient kind of cheating way of compressing the ash, is that this method actually will completely smooth the ash, whereas when you use the chopsticks, you get a bunch of striations, you get a pattern. So you can see even now she's holding the stick and turning the sensor, so she's like almost like scraping it across the surface. And so what this method can do also, where its strength is that it can actually completely smooth your mound. And that can be useful if you want to draw a particular pattern. So if you smooth the ash completely using a tool like this, that allows you then, you have a kind of blank canvas. So you could, instead of just making patterns out of the chopstick marks, now you have a really smooth surface. So you could use this to, draw, whatever kind of pattern you want into that ash now that it's smooth. You could draw anything. So that's the kind of more useful part of using this tool. But really, this tool is, it's really just a simpler, easier way. And so if you do find yourself a flat piece of wood, make sure you sand it really, really smooth so it's not rough and doesn't like clump in the ash. Less of the ash clings to it, in other words. And this method will be a little bit easier for some of you than going around with the chopsticks and slowly like trying to make the impressions in the ash perfectly equal. As that takes a lot more practice, but it is a better method. Unless you want to draw a particular pattern. Like you can see, she's already started a pattern. She's using the edge of the bamboo to make pretty lines, and some big, some small. There's like a big one, and then it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So this smooth method does allow also not just more convenience, but can be useful because it opens up, as I said, a blank canvas and allows you to draw more patterns, more different types of patterns into the ash, including wiggles or squiggles or whatever you want, because you have really a blank canvas. So she's making big lines and then smaller, 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 smaller lines with the edge of the bamboo. And you do ultimately have unlimited creativity with the chopstick method too. It's just there's the lines. You're not starting with a smooth surface, so it's more patterns with those types of lines. Whereas this one, you really could make circles or squiggles or anything you want. So she's made a really pretty pattern out of the smooth surface with just the edge of the bamboo, and made a bigger lines and smaller, smaller, smaller lines and bigger lines and smaller, smaller lines is real pretty. So this kind of tool, if you're starting out, this method can really, really help you. We would recommend still practicing raking and compressing with the chopsticks and creating the indentation in the top with the chopsticks, as we discussed in previous video. Practice those three methods as often as much as possible. They are still going to be your go-to methods, but this can help. This can be useful. It can allow you to have more different types of patterns, and it's also a little bit easier for beginners. So we hope that this helps. If you do need to use this, feel free, and we'll see you guys in the next video.